Yeah, somehow I lost you there, and it acted like you weren't there. But whatever. I just reloaded over here on this side. It happens sometimes. Technical difficulties, they happen. Thanksgiving week, that's how things go. Absolutely, we're definitely gonna have to keep our eyes on this and see what happens with Plaxico. Um, for Steelers fans, I'm assuming they're excited about this signing. I don't really know. I wish we had a Steelers fan on here who I could ask how they feel about it as a Steelers fan, and if they think this is going to be something that helps this team out or not. But again, we'll have to see where it goes. It's like you said, there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of variables to take into consideration when you look at a guy like Plaxico Burress taking the field in a Steelers jersey. And again, I think their big problem was the quarterback position. So I don't really know how a wide receiver addition to the team is going to translate into this offense getting something done. I mean, really bad situation. We were here last week talking about Ben Roethlisberger, asking, are they in trouble because Big Ben's hurt? Now their backup goes down, and we got Charlie Batch coming in, and they're re-signing Plaxico Burress. Clearly, this Steelers team is a team that is in disarray right now, and they're trying to do whatever they can to bring it back around and put themselves in a positive state. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see how things go. It's going to be interesting to see how Plaxico is able to adapt back to this Steelers offense, which clearly isn't the same offense as the last time he played for this team about 8 years ago. Definitely something that we're going to keep our eye on, though. That's the big news coming out of the NFL today, though. Plaxico Burress rejoining the Pittsburgh Steelers. On to our next topic of the day. This is where I'm going to love talking about this one. Let's talk about my San Francisco 49ers and the apparent quarterback controversy that we're now going to see. I think anyone that watches the show, anyone that knows me knows I'm not a big fan of Alex Smith. Never thought this guy was the guy to lead the team. So to see Kaepernick come in and take control of this game, to just be the field general. But yeah, 249 yards last night. Incredible game. After, the week before, we didn't really get to see much of him when he came in off of the concussion to Smith. But to see him to play a game from start to finish, and the way he played, the way he was completing the passes, the way he moved around in the pocket. This is a guy that I think has a great career ahead of him in the NFL. Could he possibly be Alex Smith's successor? I personally say yes. But then again, we did only see one game. Who's to say what's going to happen next game if he's the starter? Harbaugh says he's going to go with a hot hand. Both guys kind of had a hot hand. Alex Smith has done well, despite the fact that he went out with a concussion. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go next week and who gets the start. I'm going to go with Kaepernick. I like the kid. I think he's a lot of upside to him. And I think we're going to see Alex Smith's days in San Francisco numbered. Personally, that's just my opinion. But, Uke, I want to get your thoughts on this. What do you think of Colin taking over the reins in San Francisco? Do you think it's a one-time deal, or do you think this is going to be the changing of the... Absolutely. It's going to be... It's really going to be, like Harbaugh said, he's going to go with a hot hand. Now, here's the thing that I noticed during the game that I think is going to be a big factor when looking at who's going to be the quarterback. What I saw from Kaepernick was he was able to, and it could be through practices, just the progression of the season, but it seems to me like he's been able to build a rapport with both Michael Crabtree and Vernon Davis. In recent weeks, we've seen Vernon Davis kind of fall back from being that feature guy in San Francisco, from being the guy getting all the balls thrown his way, from being the guy getting all the catches, to kind of playing a backseat role to more of a Frank Gore-fueled offense, with Michael Crabtree being that go-to guy, especially in the red zone. From a fantasy level, It's got to be just driving fantasy owners crazy. The beginning of the season, you got Vernon Davis as the guy in the red zone. For the past few weeks, it's been Michael Crabtree. Now it looks like maybe a shift back to Vernon Davis. How much do you think that the rapport with these receivers is going to play into who starts once Alex Smith is healthy and both quarterbacks can go, and it comes down to a coaching decision as far as who's the starter in San Francisco? And my screen, there it is. I'm going to Very, very true. I'm glad that you brought that up, the whole playoff side of everything. And that's where things may actually favor Alex Smith. Alex Smith's been there. He almost took them to the Super Bowl last year. He may not be the greatest quarterback, but he has proven that he can operate under pressure, which is huge when you get to the playoffs, when you're playing teams like the New Orleans Saints, if they can manage to get there, the Green Bay Packers, the Atlanta Falcons, teams of that caliber, being able to perform in these clutch situations, in these intense situations, could definitely weigh in on who's going to be the starter there come playoff time. So definitely a lot to look at with them, and a lot for Jim Harbaugh to take into consideration moving forward. Now, we don't know how bad this concussion is that Alex Smith has, so we don't even know if they're expecting him to be ready to play this week or what's going on right now. So right now, in my eyes, I'm expecting them to go with Kaepernick again because I haven't heard anything otherwise. Obviously, like I said, Harbaugh has already said he's going to go with a hot hand, so we'll see what that means. But in the situation that Alex Smith isn't able to play, obviously they're going to go with Kaepernick. He's the guy. He's getting it done. But here's the thing. You go with Kaepernick again, and he has another great game. Now what do you do? So, let's look at the situation. Alex Smith unable to play this week. You got to go with Kaepernick. He goes out there, and he tears it up again. He has an even better game or a very similar game. What do you do then as the coach if your backup comes out yet again and has an outstanding game? I mean, granted, you have to give credit where it's due, and this 49ers defense is just stifling. You can't get things done against them, and when you can't move the ball against the defense, it just puts the offense in a better position. It takes pressure off of him. It makes it less urgent for them to move the ball upfield and to actually get to the end zone, whether it be a pass, a run, or whatever. Fact of the matter is, something's got to give when your defense is playing like that. And what's going to give is clearly what's going to give is that other team's defense, because they're going to be on the field so much longer. The question, I know I kind of got away from it, but the question is, what do you think is going to happen if, say, Kaepernick does play this week and he has another outstanding game? What do you think that does to Harbaugh as Fair enough. You brought up a lot of really good points. Now, here's the only thing that I look at, and I'm trying to get to my NFL app right now because I want to actually bring up a couple stats here to figure out if that really is something that's feasible for them. Because I understand that, once you get that playoff spot, once you're in there, it may be one of those things where you say, hey, let's go out there and play our backup now. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can get things done. But what it comes down to when you're in that situation is what are you looking forward to with that happening? Do you have a chance at a bye? Is that bye locked? If your bye's not locked, you might not want to go with that other guy with the chance. You're going to want to go with that guy that's going to put you in the best chance to win. And obviously, any game, anytime you get out there in the field, you want to put the guy out that puts you in the best chance to win. But as we've seen in the NFL in the past, you do see situations where they'll go with the younger guy because they have it all wrapped up. So, you never know what's going to happen with it. You never know who they're going to go with. It's going to be interesting to see what happens once that playoff position is clinched. Once the Niners know where they're going, will we see more of Kaepernick if Alex Smith gets back in? When we get to the playoffs, will we see Alex Smith take back over the reins? Or if Kaepernick is the guy that they're going with, will they just keep with him? There's going to be a lot of questions to be answered there, and the San Francisco 49ers team we'll be sticking by it. We'll keep you updated on that. We'll let you know how things go with that right here, Boneyard Sports live at the Boneyard. Now moving right along, we had a great talk there about the Niners. Go Niners, by the way. That's my squad. Now I'm going to talk about my other squad. I do have another squad, and that's the home team, the New England Patriots. Now, I have been the biggest person to knock their defense. This defense has played horrible. This past week, though, the addition of Aqib Talib and just the overall play of this defense this week was phenomenal. You had 2 picks taken to the house, I believe, a punt return for a touchdown. Was just incredible Patriots defense. We haven't seen the Patriots play defense like this since their first championship. And it was just great to see. It was a great feeling to see these guys going out there and finally coming together. I already know what you're going to say to this, but I'm going to ask you the question anyway. Aqib Talib, was he the missing piece in this Patriots team, and is he going to be the one that turns this defense around and makes them the great defense they could be? Fair enough. I want to say personally, I love Talib right now. This is a guy, and here's the thing with the Patriots. Here's the thing with Bill Belichick that I personally like about this guy. He's not afraid to take a big risk on a guy who has big play potential but has gotten into a little bit of trouble. We did it in the draft this past year I can't think of his name off the top of my head, the linebacker. Guy was projected to go in the first round, got himself arrested a few days before the draft, fell to the 7th round. Now he's starting for us on defense. A potential first rounder we picked up late. Belichick and Bob Kraft took a chance and took a risk on a guy who had a lot of high upside, and it paid off. It's paid off so far. And it looks like this is going to be another one of those situations with Talib. And this isn't the first time this has happened with Belichick. We saw it happen back with, why can't I think of his name right now? I'm drawing a blank. The running back from the Bengals that we had. Type his name in there for me. I can't think right now. I know you know who I'm talking about. Yes, Corey Dillon. He was the guy that we brought him over, and people were like, oh, man, Corey Dillon, this guy's got in trouble. He's caused problems in Cincinnati. Is he a good fit for this Patriots team? And he had, one of his better seasons here. And then you go to the other side, and you get Randy Moss, who came over here, after leaving the Vikings and going to the Raiders and just being horrible for the Raiders. Just not a good guy in the locker room, not a good guy in the field, not getting anything accomplished. And he comes over, and everyone's like, oh, man, this could be great with Randy Moss, but he's so much trouble. He's going to mess this locker room up, and no problems from him. And as a matter of fact, he had, a career season in New England. Ocho Cinco, another guy, didn't really make an impact on the team, but he wasn't the negative guy that we saw on other teams in other situations once he came to New England. I think this New England team is great at capitalizing on players with large upsides and turning them away from the negatives, getting them out of that a negative environment and not making these bad decisions and these sometimes juvenile mistakes that cost them time on the field and makes them look bad because it happens. It's sometimes, especially when you're in the spotlight and you have that kind of money, easy to go out there and to make a stupid mistake. I think Belichick and Bob Kraft they're real good at. I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they're putting these guys with older guys on the teams to mentor them and to kind of guide them, or if it's just the way that they run their ship there. Whatever they do, it works, and it allows the Patriots to bring in these guys that have been trouble in the past in other locations and to get the best out of them and to kind of push that past away. Talib's one of those guys that I see the same thing going to happen with him. He's a big play guy. He goes out there. He's aggressive. He plays hard, and he gets everybody else going hard. And I think the Patriots are going to keep him away from that negative side. I don't think you're going to hear negatives about him moving on through the rest of this season and however long he stays here in New England. Because I think the fact that we have an open door policy and a revolving door where, both Bill Belichick and Bob Kraft have never been afraid to cut a guy. We just saw him cut Deion Branch for like the 9th time. And he's a guy that's done things here. This offense was built originally for Deion Branch. So, to see them just say, oh, this is the guy the offense is built for. We're going to get rid of him. It lets you know they hold nothing back and say, we can't cut this guy. This guy is a guy we can't get rid of. If I'd be willing to say if Brady, got really bad, they'd have no problem cutting him. Maybe that's a little extreme, but that's the kind of ship they run here in New England, and I think it works great for these problem players or these players that could be problem players in another system. Playing for, say, a Rex Ryan, for example, or playing out in Dallas. These guys are able to bring the team down. But I think when you're playing to Bill Belichick and you're playing in a Bob Kraft team, it's not allowed. It's not tolerated. And when you play in a team and it's not going to be tolerated, I feel you know better, and you're less apt to make a dumb decision because Coach isn't going to get your back. Coach is going to say, you messed up, bye. Pack your locker, we get another guy in the practice squad that we can bring up because we're good like that, or we get another guy that will come play for us because everyone wants to come play here in New England. So you either shape up or ship out, and then let them know that before they even put on a Patriots uniform. They set that expectation, and I think they do a really, really good job with it. So I don't expect to see any problems from Talib in the future. And I think he's going to be a great, great fit on this defense. And I think he's going to make a huge difference. And his explosiveness and his aggressiveness is going to help drive the rest of this team. And I think it's something that this defense really, really needed. Now, on to another topic that you brought up, Gronkowski. This hurts the Patriots team. Welker has not been the same Wes Welker we saw last season. Aaron Hernandez still dealing with injuries. Brandon Lloyd hasn't quite been able to be that guy that we've wanted him to be since he's come to the Patriots. So now the big question is, I think, a lot of the problems are going to be solved on the offense. Maybe that, in my opinion, I think that one pickup is going to solve tons of problems on this defense. It's going to make this defense a lot more solid. But now the questions are going to go to the offense. We saw Brady struggle early in the season. Now he loses one of his top weapons. You got to wonder what's going through Brady's head, what's going through the offense, the offensive coordinator's head, what's going through the wide receivers' heads in this team right now. You don't know if Hernandez is going to be able to suit up this week, and if he can't suit up, what does that mean for Wes Welker, Brandon Lloyd, and the rest of this Patriots offense going into this game, an important game and a big game against the New York Jets. A big rival, always have issues with this team. This is the team that comes out and plays to beat us no matter what. How do you think this is going to show on the field? It's going to be interesting to see. Very good point that it is a short week. The Pats playing on Thanksgiving. That's going to be a great game. It's always great to see the Pats on Turkey Day. Get nice and full, sit back and watch the Patriots. I know I'll be doing that. And that, I think, is what makes it such a big question as to what this offense is going to do. You're on a short week. You have no Gronkowski. We really don't know with Hernandez. And that's another thing with the Patriots. you go to any game, and there's 15 guys on the injury list. You don't know who's questionable. Everybody's questionable. Every week, everybody's questionable. I don't think Brandon Lloyd has been healthy all year long, according to the injury report. Every week, he's questionable. Same thing with Wes Welker. It's like you get a hangnail one week, for the rest of the season, you will be on the injury report as questionable for the Patriots. Personally, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's great. Keeps other teams on their toes because you never know who's going to be out there on the field. But I'm pretty sure the Patriots know what's going to go on. Like you said, it did look like Hernandez could have played this week, but they kind of held him out. So, we'll see if that was, and if that is the case, that was probably a great decision now that you see Gronk going out because, he didn't have the chance to further re-injure himself by being out there on the field at all. So, he'll be nice and fresh for Thursday. Hopefully he'll be able to go. And if he can go, I got to agree with you. I don't see us losing much of a beat. I see the Patriots just moving things again. Hernandez, another great tight end. In terms of fantasy points, it's a funny point to bring up. We were talking about this earlier in the season. Rob Gronkowski led all tight ends in scoring last year from a fantasy point. And the number 2 tight end was Aaron Hernandez. So it's crazy when you look at it. You're like, wow, is 1 and 2? Or maybe he was 3, but still. And maybe that's just in our league scoring. Every league's a little different, you know what I mean? But either way, he's a top 5. Aaron Hernandez is a top 5 tight end behind the number 1 tight end in the league. So, if you can get Hernandez back on the field, get him suited up, and get him in that game on Thanksgiving Eve, I'm sure he's going to go out there. He's going to get his drumsticks, his gravy, his mashed potatoes, his corn on the cob, and everything else he can out there in that game. He's going to haul in a touchdown or 2 along with it. But it will be interesting to see how they play. Now, you did mention that the fact that it's a short week, you think they're going to be a little sluggish. I think that's just been something we've seen all year long with the Thursday night games. I personally am ready for the league to get rid of Thursday night games because these teams just don't perform on Thursday. Every Thursday night game, save 1 or 2 games so far this year, it's just been an utter disappointment of a game. Just players not playing to their full potential and games that you just want to shut off by halftime because you're just like, this is football. It's like a baseball game disguised as football with the way the scoring goes. But that will be interesting to see. I think Thanksgiving Day is a little different. Every Thanksgiving Day, you see teams, step it up a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays into, the atmosphere, how that plays into the game, and if we do see a strong showing from the Patriots, or if it is a sluggish game. However, if it is a sluggish game, I got to go and say that if it's sluggish on the Pats side, it's going to be just as sluggish on the Jets side. So it kind of will even everything out, and it's just going to be a matter of who can execute. Now, again, it's going to go to the defense. This defense, I think, is stoked. They're ready to play, especially against this Jets team who, Mark Sanchez and Tim Tebow, I mean, come on. If I was the Steelers in the situation they're in right now, I wouldn't sign either one of these guys to come in if they were free agents and lead this team right now. I'd probably go with Charlie Batch. But, maybe that's just me. But it's going to be interesting to see. But, we're getting close to the end of the show, so the next thing I want to ask you, what do you think about these Thursday night games? Do you think Thursday night football was a great idea that was overhyped, overpushed, and now has turned into something bad because it went from 4 games to 8 games to now every week you got a Thursday night game and you're just not seeing production from these players? Do you think it's just coincidence of how the games have gone this year, or do you think this is something that the league should really look at and possibly say, hey, let's cut back our Thursday night games because it's just not getting a lot of valid points right there, you. One thing that you said that I want to touch on is the fact with the flex scheduling. Here is the downside of flex scheduling. Flex scheduling covers the flex scheduling covers the Sunday night game. It does nothing for Monday night. It does nothing for Thursday night. I like the idea of flexing. Now, if you move Thursday night games back, I think the best way to do it would be to not even schedule Thursday night games to say we're going to go from week 10 to week 17 or week 9 to week 7, week 10 to week 17. You got 8 games, week 10 to week 17, Thursday night football, and you decide them maybe after week 6, maybe even week 7. Gives teams time to know, okay, our game's going to be put on a Thursday night now, so they can prepare for that. It allows you to look at your Monday night schedule, which, you kind of do have to have that set beforehand. But unfortunately, that's Monday Night Football. But whatever, they definitely have to look a little more into how they're scheduling that. I don't know who thought that the Chiefs were going to be good this year, good enough to be a Monday Night Football team. Whoever that was should get fired. But I think you can push it back to week 10 to 17, and excuse me, and you put yourself in a situation where you can say, now we're going to put some good matchups on Thursday night. Now we're going to be able to put games that people want to see. You do bring up a valid point that not everyone has NFL Network. I don't know how you don't have NFL Network. If your provider doesn't carry it, you need to get a petition going or something. I cannot listen. That's the first thing I ask when I get TV turned on. Is this going to include NFL Network and Red Zone? I want both of them. If I don't have those, then let's redo the package. Maybe that's just me. I love football. But I understand that point, and that could be part of the reason why the NFL doesn't want to go and put just the top games. Maybe that makes them say, let's just schedule our games this way. Here we can get a little bit of everybody on Thursday night games. Everyone gets a chance to be seen on Thursday night. But they're not losing out on viewers of those bigger games because people that don't have NFL Network. Definitely a very valid point, something I never took into consideration. But it could have something to do with the way that they do that scheduling. Now, I don't even know if they do the flex anymore on Sunday night. I haven't heard anything of it. They definitely should. If they're not doing it, they should bring it back, and they should get back to flexing because, it's just there's a lot of parity in the league, but there are also a lot of horrible teams. You don't really have that many teams that you're like, this team's just running it. I mean, you get your Pats, you get your, right now, the Falcons, but they weren't like that last year. You get your Pats, who the Pats, the Niners, usually the same. They had a bad start to the season because of all the suspensions, but you do have your, 4 or 5 perennial teams that are going to be good. And then you have your 4 or 5 teams that are just going to be horrible. And then you got your middle of the pack teams that can go either way. So the flex schedule is great for that, so you can make sure you're putting up a good match from one of those middle-of-the-line teams that just might be doing horrible this year that could have been good, rather than putting them on the Sunday night stage. However, I do agree they got to do something about Thursday night. Thursday night, I'm just not a big fan of the way the system works, and I love football. I absolutely love football. But here's the thing. How they say there's never too much of a good thing? There's too much of a good thing. Thursday night football is too much of a good thing. It messes up so many different things. Fantasy football perspective. Now, for most fantasy football leagues, your waiver wire ends on Wednesday. So you got to make sure you're checking that, get on the waiver wire, get you guys, make sure they're set, because someone might play the very next day. Same thing for gambling reasons. If you're a gambler, if you happen to play a card, now you got to get, or if you're in a pool, you get your picks in Thursday afternoon before you leave work because there's that Thursday night game. Otherwise, you're out of it. And then I even know people that have pools that they don't even count the Thursday night game. They just do the Sunday and the Monday night game because it's kind of like, I'm not going to hand these out on Tuesday and have to get it back by Thursday. I want to give you the whole week to do it. So I think Thursday night takes away a lot. Even if they made a Saturday night game rather than a Thursday night game, so it's not so early in the week. I don't know what the big thing with Thursday was and why they decided on Thursday, but absolutely something needs to be done about it. Something needs to be tweaked there. Either make it better games, cut down the amount of games. That way you can flex and make sure you put good games in those positions, or just get rid of the concept altogether. Move it to another night, or just don't have that early game. As a football fan, it kind of kills it when you go, now you get that game, so it takes away from a game that would be a 4 o'clock game on your Sunday. Now you're down to 3 games at some points because of buys, because that Thursday night game would have been the 4 o'clock game. So, there's so many different ways to look at it. It's interesting to see what they do. I am not a big fan of the current system of Thursday night football. And actually, I'm a guy that watches football all the time. I love football. But I miss more Thursday night games than I catch because I have other things going on. And it's not always a good game. I've had too many times where I make plans to go out, grab something to eat, watch the game, and it's just a disappointment. And I'm like, wow, I could have just stayed home and watched this game because it wasn't even cool. We'll see what happens with it moving forward. I think the NFL has noticed that it's not doing that great and that some of these games are horrible and that you're just not getting production from players that are playing on Thursday nights. And I think it's something that we'll see them look at. Maybe it's not this coming off season, within the next few off seasons, especially if the trend continues of bad Thursday night games. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. I'm gonna throw something out there, a little sports entertainment question for you. What did you think? If you got the opportunity to watch Survivor Series, I watched it. What did you think about the way that they brought in it? It's actually funny. Let me preface this with this. I was sitting there with one of my buddies. We're watching the game. I was sitting there with Parker, and we were talking about it. And I said how they were talking about bringing in Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, but they didn't know the right way to bring them in. And boom, 20 minutes later, out comes Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, and what's his name, Roman Reigns, Sika's kid. They bring him out there and have him devastate Ryback, have him do it again last night on Monday night. What do you think of that? What do you think of the way they're going with this angle? What do you think they're going to do? Do you think this is cool? Do you think this is something that you like? And is it me, or can you not wait to see Dean Ambrose actually get a microphone in his hand and see what he has to say to the WWE? It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know what you know about Dean Ambrose, but the guy's a monster on the microphone. He's like, him and Seth Rollins, they're grooming them to be like the next big things up there in WWE. So, I feel that you're going to see a lot of them in the coming weeks. I feel they're going to be put right into this feud. They're probably going to be Paul Heyman guys. So I can see that being the stable with starting to put Punk with these indie guys that he talked about before, that he's been talking about bringing up these young guys. So he kind of would. How about now? Can you hear me now? Yeah, I didn't have my settings window open there. I feel like, I don't know where you lost me, but I feel like this could be a great angle if they play it right. If they put these 3 guys, this Paul Heyman guys, put him with Punk. He's always talked about being the voice of the voiceless, bringing up these young guys and bringing them into the league. This would be great. Maybe add a Colt Cabana down the road to add into that little crew. But very good point. I don't know where they're going to go with this. Like, what are you going to do for the month of December? What's going to happen? Because I think it's clear that now you can't take the belt off of Punk. If you're going to take the belt off of Punk, you either do it now at Survivor Series, or you do it last month and then put it right back on him again. So now it raises the question of where are you going to go with this? What are you going to do? Are you going to job out Ryback to Punk one more time? Clearly, if they fight again, that's what's going to happen. Because it's going to be Punk, Rock at Royal Rumble, Rock's winning the world title, and he's going to fight Cena again at Mania. And that's when we're going to see this Cena heel turn that the entire world has been waiting for. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. I'm glad that they brought these guys up this way. I know they were trying to look for a way to bring them in where they could utilize their mic work. I think if you put Dean Ambrose as a Paul Heyman guy, along with Rollins and Reigns or whatever his name is, Sika's kid, I'm going to call him. I think these guys have the potential to become big stars right away. If you watch NXT, if you watch NXT, I think you're going to see you're definitely going to see Seth Rollins lose that NXT title in the next coming weeks, so he can be full time up in the majors. But it was an interesting pay-per-view. I enjoyed Survivor Series. It's one of the better pay-per-views I've seen in a while. But I'm really not looking forward to TLC because it's kind of like, where are you going to go with this now? What are you going to do now? Because we all know what's going to happen at the Rumble, so everything else, you got to find something else to push up to the front of the card, to put at the top, if you're going to keep doing this for Punk, because everybody knows Punk's going to win. Sheamus and Big Show, that's kind of old for me. You need something new there. Maybe this big face push for Miz could be something that turns into, top of the card work in the next coming pay-per-views. But something needs to be done, because this was the best pay-per-view I've seen in a little while from the WWE. I was very happy with the product for once. But it's pretty much where are you going to go now? And I think everybody knows, especially your smart marks, the IWC, the Internet Wrestling community. They all know what they're expecting. They all know what's going to happen. So, I mean, granted, they could switch everything on us right now and throw somebody else on there, but who knows what's going to happen with that. Hey, look, it's Bones. Bones is joining in with us at the very end as we wrap up the show. Hey, Bones, good to see you, buddy. We can't hear you right now. I gotta make you the speaker. I'll make you the speaker in a moment. Let me pass this back to Yuke to get his thoughts on this WWE situation. Yuke, take it away from me, and then pass it over to Bones. The incredible Brendan Hodge, a man of few words. But put him on a drum and watch what he does. Put him behind a drum set and watch what he does. But we're getting about to that time today. What to watch? I don't know if you have anything to watch, Bones, that you think that everyone should be watching. The Peanuts Thanksgiving special is going to be on tonight, probably. We're going to have to check that out. If that's on, that's what to watch. I don't know if there's anything else to watch this week. Watch football Thursday. Eat turkey. Watch football. Pats-Jets game. Anything else you pass it over? You take it. Pass it to Bones. Let me hear what you two. Well, I think the bolder prediction there is that the Pats are going to win 37-17. That's a bolder prediction. I'm going to actually second that Rex Ryan gives birth to a gobbledygooker on Thursday night. Guys, definitely check it out. The band's name is Luso Funk. They're going to be at the Verdian Vets this Friday night. $15, you get dinner, 3 acts, there's a DJ. Definitely check it out. Black Friday. What are you going to do? Go to the Verdian Vets. Check out Luso Funk. That's going to be what to do on Friday night. Get nice and full on Thursday. Watch some football, then sit and relax for Friday night. I want to thank the incredible Brendan Hodge for joining us today. I want to thank Mike K as usual. I'm your host, Sean Puff. I want to say there's not a discount because it's Black Friday. The discount is $15. Typically, those tickets go for $35. I know. I'm trying to tell you. There's your discount, $15. Black Friday sale. Couples for $25. There you go, right there. You heard it from Brendan Hodge. Definitely check them out. The band's name's Luso Funk. You're going to be seeing them around a lot. Again, I'm your host, Sean Puff. For Mike K, for Brendan Hodge, saying thanks for joining us live at the Boneyard. We'll see you next Tuesday. No midgets, no midgets.